okay? That could have been done, and that's what I'm saying is,
Now,
and that was through a grant.
is this something that, like through Delaware Opportunities, would that be?
Well, that's why a committee would have to
organization
be
that might-
formed.
Might have some,
Yeah, a
knowledge
committee
of
would be
doing that.
formed, and you would work with, and it might take 2-3 years to figure it out.
right,
And, because I know when I talked to some of the people down in Grant, they liked it, the
mhm,
idea, the one that's in town, what's the name, that does the grants, that's an opportunity. To the, over there by the firehouse. Well, anyway,
yeah,
they thought it was all a good idea, but, you know, it would have to come from somewhere else,
oh,
you
okay,
know. So,
okay.
so
see-
it has nothing to do with, like, there's really no profit for anybody in this.
Right, right,
It's just that it would develop in the sense, and, you know, it might only be like a couple $100 to do handicap, the bathrooms and stuff like that, and you know,
okay.
when I look at my apartment, I think Roy Gershon
Uh,
might have put $1,000 into it
Right, okay, well,
for Glenn.
there is a workforce, through DSS, they've got some,
Well,
people
yeah, but
on
I'm
public
sure-
assistance that they are doing some of that, like for elderly, you know, fixing porches and stuff like that, and that's basically what you're, you know, that might be, so you have accessibility for either handicapped or elderly people on the ground floor. Is what you're looking for, is not the second story apartments, because,
No,
you know,
no.
right?
But I mean, I think the thing would be if it came from the town to
Right.
do it.
Right,
No, you know, like down by us, when he talks about Jersey a lot, and I could back
Right.
everything he says.
right,
And he's memorizing some of the stuff that goes on in Jersey, all right? You know, there's obligations for senior citizen housing and all that, and a lot of times in low-income housing, a lot of times in some towns, that's how they did it. They took the 2 to 4 family houses, and they, you know, when it's mandated, you have to have low-income housing or
Right.
that.
right.
They did, you could do it through that. They didn't do senior citizen, but they
Right.
did low-income housing. It's the same type of thing they did with the low-income housing, but you would do it for seniors, instead of waiting for, you know, this gift over here that never comes. I mean, I'm more than willing to do it, but I wondered what, and you know what? It has to be done in the wintertime, because we're all busy in the summertime.
Sometimes tough to line things up.
Yeah,
but,
I'm available for that, but
Okay,
I don't want to bring it up today, unless you guys want to.
okay. Yes, Don?
Update on Verizon. Last month, you signed the agreement
Yep.
with them. What's the progress on it? They getting-
Now it's up to Crown to have Verizon put the unit on, as far as I know. You know, it's in their ballgame. I
Okay.
don't know, have we received any money yeah, we haven't, Paul, have we? 'Cause
No,
I
but
haven't heard anything back from them, except that, you know, we signed the agreement.
What have you got a time frame? You haven't?
I
you don't
haven't
have-
heard any time frame. No.
Second question was, like for cell service in Treadwell, I think you mentioned, might have been last month, that there might need to be an assessment, a petition, a sign-on who interested in whatever for high-speed internet or cell. Do you know if that's ever been done in Treadwell? I talked to some person that said they thought that had been done, but not officially.
I don't know, I know it's been talked of, but I don't know of any
That that might be
petition like
an
that.
action sometime.
Maybe I'll get the number from Dawn for the, Will Stone, and I'll give him a call and see if that would help
Maybe.
generate any interest,
Okay.
you know,
If-
something like that.
If there has not been a official, call it a survey or whatever,
Right.
need in Treadwell, let me know.
Right, okay, yep. Yep. And I guess, is there anything else? Cause I think Jim was nice enough to do the presentation for us. And I'm interested in make a motion to opt out of the, solar assessment.
It has to be a local law, though, not.
Local law, I'll just, no, we have to get a whole lawyer. Oh, we know one, anyway.
Well, I did have a comment I was hoping to make tonight.
Okay.
It's gonna kind of talk a little bit to what Jim was talking about. I'm gonna bring up again the energy plan for New York State that they adopted, the Reforming Energy Vision. And last month I gave you a copy of the specific goals. One was 40% reduction in greenhouse gases from 1990 levels. Another was 50% electric generation to come from renewable energy sources. And the third was the 23% reduction of energy consumption in buildings. But I want to take just a minute and talk about the historical perspective of why we might want to do this. Today, the world does run primarily on fossil fuels that took millions of years to form. Fossil fuels are essentially sunlight that was captured by photosynthesis and stored deep in the earth, so essentially it was the original solar energy. They release heat and carbon dioxide when burned, and that energy is then used for multiple things. I mean, we've been using it for 150 years, but it also produces carbon dioxide. We also use all of these fossil fuels for chemicals, plastics, structural materials, and many other uses. Historically, fossil fuel energies have been a very low cost, and they've changed our lives. We all agree. We have had a manifold growth in our economy. It's allowed the substitution of machines for manual labor, and it's raised our standard of living and quality of life. And so one term I've heard is that, yes, the world is pretty much addicted to fossil fuels at this point. Starting in the 1800s, I mean, oil came on. In Pennsylvania, you could find it floating on ponds. Colonel Drake drilled the first well in 1859. That's 160 years ago, more or less. Then we drilled in western United States, and we've all seen documentaries. We've seen gushers. We've seen the oil spurting up into the air. During the last 150 years, man has exhausted over 1/2 of the oil reserves of the world, reserves that took them millions of years to form. Globally, we're using fossil fuels at an ever-increasing rate as world population rises and underdeveloped nations strive to achieve the standard of living that we have. However, we have used up all the easy and low-cost fossil fuels, the low-hanging fruit. To get the second half of this oil and gas, we are using more costly and accident-prone technology. We're expending more and more energy to produce it, and the cost of that energy has risen and will continue to rise. We drill deep in the Gulf of Mexico, the North Sea, and oceans. We attack the tar sands of Canada to squeeze a little oil out. We frack shale deposits to get oil and natural gas, and we're expending a very high ratio of energy to produce a unit of energy on the output side. There are no more low-hanging fruits. This is not news, it's history. In fact, the Town Board of Franklin made history on December 6 of 2005. The Franklin Town Board passed a resolution establishing a commission on peak oil. This was the first of its kind in the whole of the United States. Franklin became a national leader in raising public awareness that fossil fuels are finite in quantity, becoming more costly to discover and produce, and ultimately must be replaced by other energy sources. Yes, the town board was aware of a pending fossil fuel issues in 2005 and acted proactively to establish that commission to address these issues. And yes, Franklin led the nation in 2005. This brings me back to the Reforming Energy Vision that is looking forward to 2030, the clean energy goals. These goals were set to start New York State on a rehab program, to start weaning New York State off of a fossil fuel addiction. New York State now has taken a leadership role in the United States, much like Franklin did in 2005. Yes, we are addicted to oil and gas, and like any addiction, there are health, economic, and social effects. We now know that consumption of fossil fuels creates greenhouse gases and causes climate change. Ultimately, the world will have to deal with this addiction. In 150 years, rural United States has gone primarily from horses for power and transportation and growing most of our food locally to today we have jet planes, cars, cruise ships for travel, and we have supermarkets for fast food for our meals. What will the world be like in another 100 years? What will we leave our children and their children? I believe we have a social and moral obligation to protect the environment for future generations. So, therefore, my point of doing things like opting out, New York State does have incentives for alternative energies. The United States federal government has an energy credit for renewable energies. And anybody that's been aware of tax credit is $1 less taxes you pay. It's not just a deduction. So yes, renewable energy does receive incentives from federal, state, and local governments as a direct response to the finite nature of fossil fuels and the public cost to the economy as those fuels are consumed and create a negative effect on the environment. However, these subsidies and tax credits for renewables are small when you look at the subsidies provided to gas and oil industries. They get eminent domain to build their infrastructure. They get pilot programs to reduce taxes. They are exempt from spills and accidents that occur during the transportation or hazardous fossil fuel flammable gases. And then there's the indirect environmental cost and the public health cost by exemptions to the Clean Air and Clean Water Acts. If solar power had exemptions to some of those acts, it probably would also be more affordable, just like oil has been. So anyway, I'm just saying, I think there's a reason that they set these goals for New York State and for the goals that they set in Paris this spring. Even the Pope has come out and talked about we need to be responsible about starting to reduce of how are we going to wean ourselves off of these fuels while we still have enough fuels left to make that transition. So therefore, I am not in favor of opting out. An energy farm of 20 acres is really not much different than when you look in areas of the West, there's literally an oil well, 4 of them on each square mile. I mean, that's just another kind of, one blight or another blight, we need energy. So I thank you for the privilege of the floor.
Anybody else?
I'm in favor of opting out. I'm tired of the corporate welfare that goes on in this country. There's too much of it. And the green energy is the latest and largest of them.
I second that. Okay, Bill? Hey, Brian?
I was just going to say, if you're serious about thinking about a local law to opt out, and Jim was talking about all the overlapping districts, it might be worthwhile just broaching it to the village and to the Board of Education first, to see if you get them on board. People are often more agreeable if you bring them in
Before
rather than trying to present it a fait accompli and say you got to do what we're doing.
Fair enough. Get everybody
No,
together.
the only problem,
My plan is to contact each of them and where they want me to come in and talk. Obviously, if any of you that have heard me talk to them, they won't want me to come in and talk, but if they want me to, I will come. But I will make them aware that
Right.
they have a decision before them. But I thought
no,
that was
it
best
does
to
have
guys.
to be a local law.
Mm-hmm.
No,
For a school district, it can be a resolution, but for everybody else, it's a local.
now how did the county do it with a resolution rather than local law?
Because they didn't opt out.
Because they did not, they just,
Opting
they
out-
opted to change the wording of the
No, they
first
came up,
half.
they came up with something completely new and different, and
Okay.
I didn't say new and improved, I just said new.
No, and different, yeah. Right, but they could do that. Okay, it doesn't make sense, okay.
What
Yes,
they do in Jersey, like, they're doing it all over on farmland, and the cost of farmland is much more expensive than up here. So, for a corporation to come in here, it'd be very easy to very cheap for them to do it if you leave the door
You
open.
gotta live off the beaten path, cause I live up in Merrittville, which, there's
No, I
not,
live off the beaten path.
it's not
too,
a
but I'm
bad,
just saying
bad
that
place, but I've never had anybody approach me for a gas lease. They have talked to me about a wind turbine farm, and I've never got a phone call about the solar stuff either, which, that's fine, but, you know,
But to do it here, it'd be much cheaper than to do it in Jersey,
Oh, yeah.
doing it all over.
right, right, but some of the board members have been approached.
I have not.
Some of the,
And I'm on the beaten path.
Yeah, that's right.
some of the energy companies are taking the same approach, let's say, as the gas. They pay you $200 or $2,000 an acre or something, and the energy companies are gonna pay $2,000 or $3,000 an acre to come in and put an energy thing on your farm.
Right.
Now, if somebody will allow, you know, somebody to drill into the ground to do gas, now I know on my place, there is a gas well. The gas well has been drilled, it's there, it's sealed, and I know where it is, but
Right.
would I have them do that? I can't tell you I would or I wouldn't.
Right.
I can tell you this, it should be my right to decide, not somebody else's right to decide. That's my approach at it. Whether I decide or not decide. I worked for a company for 35 years that, and fossil fuel is not limited as people think it is. There is tremendous amounts of that in this country. And unfortunately, our government right now doesn't allow us to extract that from the ground. I mean, that's very, very well controlled. For example, if you go down through Pennsylvania, you can see on the top of them mountains, all them big wooden turbines. Who do you think put them in there? Florida Power and Electric. Not Pennsylvania, not anybody else. Florida Power and Electric. Their philosophy was, they were gonna charge you, in addition, over the amount of what fossil fuel energy was the cost, and they based it on the theory that there are enough of these people that want an alternative energy, will pay more money for their electric than not. And guess what? It didn't happen. Nobody's willing. Maybe out of 1 million people, 10 people are gonna say to you, well, I'll spend more money on my electricity because it doesn't fossil fuel. They don't give a damn where it comes from. As long as they flick that light on, it comes on. I mean, it's true to nature. I mean, it's like, it's not only in this country, you go overseas, I've been in Europe and all of that, and they have huge turbines over there. They have turbines over there that are like a boxcar on the top of a pole. I mean, and they run miles and miles. You never see a telephone pole over there, everything's underground. It's gorgeous, I mean, it's.
Tim?
I got a doctor friend that looked into putting a solar panel farm in, and the solar panel people ended up saying to him, it's gonna cost us too much money to transport that to where people live.
Well,
To get anything. That's why Jersey, they ain't gotta go nowhere
right,
to have it gone. Up here,
right,
and this guy is he don't know what to do with his damn
right.
money.
Well,
And they just take him around and
Not
told
gonna
him,
waste it.
take him around and told him, hey, it's gonna cost us too much to transport it, and move it.
the problem
He said,
is,
"There's no
that,
sense of being up here."
that's a unsung problem. Because through the county board,
Horrible.
there's one of the Hamden supervisor is, head of the Delaware County Electric Co-op. And he said they've had 16 applications, or people talking of 16 different solar farms, and only 2 of them could be put online, cause they were, you know, then REA or whatever, Delaware County Electric Co-op, you know, the old lines, the small lines and stuff, they're not set up for these 20-acre, you know, the amount of, the volume of electricity that they could produce, the lines aren't there for it. So, I mean, there's a catch-22, you know, you got the power lines like Marcy, and there's High Lines over in Merrickville, you know, that's really where they wanna tie into, is something like that, I think. Because the voltage is, they can take any kind of voltage they can put out. So to transfer that power from a solar farm to the grid, I guess is what you wanna call it, you know, the further you're away, the more it's gonna cost, that's all there is to it. So, I mean, they're fishing, there's no doubt, they're only gonna take the premium spots.
But that's exactly why it's so funny that the county jumped all over this, because you're right, I mean, other than the substation over here, you know, on Marcy South, where you could tie into it real easy, there's not a whole lot of sites. But
Right.
yet, they, for lack of a better term, kind of a manure waste storm has happened here.
Yeah, right, you know, I don't know, it's, you know, but there's a lot more to this than what solar farms, it's a great thing. But, you know, as you said, in New Jersey, they can use them all over, because the power grid is there.
But they don't do it that way. They do, for example, they'll put, like the schools will put one in. And then they run the schools off of it. The one that they're putting in the new location there, it's already designated for 400 houses. You can't think big.
Right.
You gotta think small. You know, you gotta think, you could put in a solar panel to run Treadwell, all of Treadwell.
But the problem with that is, in town of Franklin, how many electric sources are there?
So you don't opt out, you do
Otsego,
nothing.
Sydney, Walton, Delhi,
Well,
Oneonta,
bigger towns.
that come into here.
Right.
You know, and that's when they were talking wind turbines, you know, if we could utilize the power in this township, it'd be a no-brainer,
A lot of wind on light, I can tell you.
you know, but the problem is, it will never benefit the town, it's gotta go on national,
Right.
then come back, I guess, is what it will do. But, I mean, there is a benefit, but it's tough, you know.
To see a
people-
direct benefit is difficult for the people to, I mean, once it goes onto the grid, everyone says, well, we don't get anything out of it. Realistically, you do, because everyone demands energy. You're adding more energy to the grid,
Availability.
you know, so you're reducing brownouts, blackouts, that kind of thing. But yeah, to sit here and say us as a community directly reaps off of it, it's hard to sell that on people. And the solar thing's getting jumped all over right now because the companies are getting financial incentives to go out and sell it. And they get their money whether it flies through or not. So anyone they can get signed on, they get a chunk of coin.
Like that. Okay.
Is anything, but does anybody even know about what's going on at Fraser's at the substation up there?
Well, up on Hamden Hill,
300,000 yards of gravel is going in there.
well, they've probably taken 200,000 out.
Well, they used 200,000 spreading out,
Right,
but
but they've taken out just about as much as they put in there.
300,000 that they're putting in
Right,
is, right now, it's scheduled to be the biggest fenced-in area of any power plant in New York State.
I haven't been up there, you
Oh,
can see it
yeah.
going down
It's
West
big.
Platte Brook, you can
down
see
in
it.
West Flatman.
Oh, it's,
I've been told, God, I gotta go up there and look at that.
that's the way it backs it up.
Right,
She's behind it. Go up on top there and look down, it's like, holy.
that's what I understand, it's awesome.
Nobody been anything said or heard about where's the power gonna come in to run this.
That's what I
know where that
understand
line
about,
is?
that's what I understand, that was gonna be one of the places when there was 3 other power lines, there's gonna be Marcy South too, that was gonna run parallel, and there was 2 others coming through.
Right.
That's where they were gonna tie, so it tells me
They're
with all the work,
putting
they're
the
still doing
buildings in
something.
now.
They're doing something, someday it will.
That was never stated to do that.
Never stated.
The upgrade, the plan there is
Yeah, this is what they were both.
serial capacitors that try to make the line run more efficiently
Done in a
by
way where it
decreasing
would work.
the variation.
Marcy South was never gonna be.
So that you can
what
push
they're doing.
more power through the same line.
It's amazing what that's gonna be next.
You had to look like that.
There's a know.
It's,
how it-
it's a lot more than what they were explaining to me. There's that much to put faster than boot this up. It's gonna have a hell of a lot more stuff coming in. Or going out. It's monster made.
Oh, yeah.
They're good. I bet you expect these to bring more stuff
It's kind of a lot, I think.
in. You know, 300,000 yards of gravel from Wells Bridge or wherever to there. Marky's
Made a lot of
miling all
truckers
that
money all
long,
winter.
all winter ran,
That's right.
up to 13 trucks a day. 13 trucks,
Right, multiple trips.
yeah, 7 to 8 trips.
Okay, is there anything else then? I am gonna look into, you know, talking to our lawyer. If we gotta have a local law, we'll look into it since we can't do anything tonight. Is there any other business to come before the board?
Motion right here.
Motion been made, it's been seconded, and we thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jim.